Thank you for joining our Year 1 Student Forum. My name is Renee Lebo, and I'm the Senior Advisor with the School of Engineering, and I'm really happy to see you all here. Our school hosts this event on an annual basis as an opportunity for our faculty, students, and UBC colleagues to share their experiences, resources, and hear feedback from all of our Year 1 engineering students. We have an excellent lineup of panelists this morning, and we will end our session with time to answer your questions and hear your feedback. First of all, I would like to introduce our Executive Associate Dean to start our forum this AM, Dr. Rehan Sadiq.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you, everyone, and welcome, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. So my name is Rehan Sadiq, and I'm an Executive Associate Dean School of Engineering. And we have a great panel today. I will not take much time today. The idea is to hear from you and to check in how everyone is doing. First year has always been a difficult year in a university life, especially in current circumstances. I believe this becomes even more complicated and more difficult. This is not a planned situation. So we, as a faculty, as a school, we are trying our best to deliver under the current circumstances. So we thought of today's event to hear from you and to understand how everyone is doing. And if you have any specific question, feedback, how we can improve our teaching, our interaction, our advising, anything else which we can help. So we have gathered a very nice panel today. Hopefully we will be able to answer all of your questions and your queries. Just a few things. When this whole thing happened, we try our best to adapt to the situation, and we're trying to add services where we can. So we are learning on the way, and so it's been a difficult journey, but as well as at the same time we learned a lot during this process. So the idea is to make sure that we keep on improving. We are living in very uncertain times. We don't know the situation. We know that now how the semester is gone, and we want to hear from you. Especially first year students are very important. This is your transition from your high school to university life, and that's experience especially for your cohort is very different. So so please, when we will finish our presentation, please put your question in Q&A or in chat as appropriate, and we will try to address as many questions as possible. So I will not take much time here, and I will pass on to Dr. Hoofer, who's the director of the school, and she would like to share some of her experience when she was an undergrad student.
Thank you so much, Rehan. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. My name is Mina. I'm director of the School of Engineering, and I'm professor in mechanical engineering. It's my pleasure to be able to talk to you today as our first year students always go through different type of hardship compared to other students in the engineering program. 20 years plus time ago, I was in the same situation. Of course, there was no pandemic, but I felt really awkward getting into the university. So I finished my high school as a top student, always, getting the highest mark in my class without even studying hard. And I got into university. And everybody, I think by now knows that engineering was not my first choice. I got it because of my parents. They thought that I'm really great in math and physics, so I should go to engineering. And at that time, I got into mechanical engineering. I didn't have the option of choosing what type of engineering. So again, my parents said that that's a very generic, is a good one for you. So still, I remember the first day I got into university, a big building, not knowing anyone. And again, engineering is a male-oriented profession, just a few handful of female you could see around the classroom. I was very intimidated, and a faculty member, professor came. It was totally different dynamics, totally different environment than my high school that I got used to it. I knew everybody after 4 years, all the instructors, all the students, they were my friends, some of them from my elementary school. So the first day was so bad that I didn't continue going back to university. I still remember that for the first term, I make any excuses to my parents that, you know what, I'm tired, I'm not going, I have other things to do. So I miss all of my classes, and I never made any friends the first term. And I didn't know many of the professors at all, just by their names, and missing classes here and there. And then when I got to the exams, midterm and final, of course, no surprises, I failed everything. And I kept it quiet. I was so embarrassed. I was so ashamed. I couldn't even tell my parents. There were no counseling like what you have right now at UBC or other places. So I got probation to take some of the less number of the courses in term 2. And then the same thing happened because I didn't know anybody and almost failed all of the courses. So at the end of the term 2, I always ask myself how a person that intelligent, that could pass the high school with, great marks, could fail university. And I knew the university is tougher, engineering is tougher. I knew that, there's no doubt. But I always blame in those 3 to 6 months that because I don't like engineering, so I'm not really thriving. Then at that moment, I really made a decision at the end of my term 2. I said, if I'm intelligent enough that I can go back and change the whole history, I would do it. And I wouldn't blame on my interest because I haven't given the chance to engineering, or I'm not that smart. So then maybe, yes, it's not enough for me. And that was very big thing for me to admit that I'm not smart enough to turn around the whole thing. So I started year 2, and I had to repeat all the courses, of course. And this time I made a big decision. I said, okay, the reason I listed all the things that caused my failure. One of them was I was intimidated, I mentioned to you. And I think the reason was that I didn't have any friends. I didn't know how or with whom I should start working and practicing and studying. So, and I knew that only happens if I go to university. How people can become my friend if I'm not going to university? So I started attending university. I made friends. We started making a study group. And the other thing I didn't know also, how to study at university. It's different than high school. At high school, I remember I used to sleep on my bed and just flip over the courses, very easy. I remember what the instructor said in the class. But then one of my friends who was very successful in year 1, she told me that, okay, if you wanted to succeed, you have to sit down, you have to go through proper all of the assignments, you have to do the assignments, you have to spend time. It's not just sitting on your bed and studying, flipping over the book. So I started doing that. I started practicing, making friends, a study group, knowing how to study, going to the professors. They started knowing my face, asking them questions. Then slowly I got interested into the topics because I interested into the environment, in the environment and the whole university. And believe it or not, I got A+ in all of my courses. So then I get back to myself, said that I'm intelligent enough to change the whole thing. And the point is not that I'm not interested in engineering. Actually, I really liked it outside the thinking box. So then I graduated first in my class after 4 years. So the person who failed everything the first year, I graduated first in my class. And that gave me a very good lesson in my life, that if you don't give a chance to something and studying or looking into it and really dig into your abilities, you cannot just dismiss it and put it because I'm not interested or the environment is not right for me. Always give a chance, always ask for help, always make friends. They are the ones that are going to help you for the rest of your career. And these are the points that I learned, through hardship, failing the first year. But I learned later on that many people go through the same thing. It's not just me. Coming from high school, which is different environment, to university, can affect many people. And that's why I'm sharing this experience with you, to tell you that you are not alone if you're facing some difficulties. You're all the first in your high school. You're all intelligent people. The reason that happens to us is that we don't know how to approach the problem in university. It's a new environment. It's a new challenge. And similar to every other challenges, you have to give it time and you have to find a path. We know the path. Faculty members have done it before. Your peers that they are in second year, third year, fourth year, they know the path. So ask for help. And we are willing to give it to you with no cost. So just you have to come to classes. You need to hand in your assignments ask for help. And that's the only sort of advice I can give you after 20 years and plus that I'm in this environment and I never left academia, that tell the students, if you don't try, you won't see what happens. So this I stop here. Maybe you have some questions later on, and I pass it on to Renee to give it to the next speaker in the panel. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Horfar. Very wise words. We have on the call Yasmine, who is a fellow first-year student, to share her experience so far. Yasmine?
Hi, everyone. My name is Yasmine, and I'm a first-year engineering student at UBC School of Engineering. And I'm here today to talk about some of the challenges, benefits, high points of this past semester learning online as a first-year student, as well as some studying methods and coping mechanisms that I've come across that really work for me for encouraging success. And so I'd like to start off by saying that first-year engineering is definitely one of the most difficult educational transitions to make in the grand scheme of your career. But even with school being online and not having contact with my professors and with other students, I still feel very well supported and believed in. And I know that all of my professors definitely want me to succeed and that they care about me. They show it in different ways, but I know they care. I'll start off by talking about some of the high points and some of the benefits. For online lectures, I find that it's really supportive for me to have that safety net of having them recorded. And I know that it's really beneficial for students who live in other time zones to be able to have access to education without having to wake up at 4 in the morning. Another benefit is that making friends is still possible. And so at the beginning of the year, right when the potential for a lot of lonesomeness and solitude for that to kick in. I remember the first 2 weeks before the term started, I had never had so many consecutive Zoom calls with different small communities and people who wanted to reach out to me, and conferences where I could get answers to all of my questions. I thought that was really, really helpful. And it allowed me to start the year off not feeling like I was in this alone, but like I was in this with an entire community of people and a village of support. I also found that my study habits now are definitely better than they were before. I, just like Dr. Horfar said about how in high school you could just sit in your bed and flip through the pages and do well, that tactic did not work for me coming into engineering. And so I started to become a lot more organized with all of the work that I had. Some of the challenges that I've noticed so far are working in groups, working in teams for different courses. And so, for example, in my 171 CAD/CAMS course, there's the notorious SolidWorks and final project where my team of 6 people, are redesigning a rover. And for our final design project, we're trying to redesign a recycling bin. One of the challenges that we've had through that is being able to communicate with each other expressively without having the means of being there in person and having body and social cues to carry a conversation forward. Also, I strongly believe that all students should have access to premium Zoom, because every time we have a group meeting on Zoom, we have to wait like 45 minutes, and then the Zoom call automatically ends, and then we have to re-enter the Zoom call and go back to our work. So I definitely think that's something that maybe administration should consider. As well, there's the access to technology, which can be a real challenge for some students. I'm very fortunate enough that I have the means to print out papers, to scan my papers. I have a phone, I have a laptop, and that's a lot more that I can say that some students can't. So I think it's really important that some teachers and the entire administration understands is that not everyone is in the same financial position, and this access to technology and education like this is a right and not a privilege. Also, another challenge that I faced is having separation of space. I spend most of my day in my room. My bed is right there. I have another table over here. And so it's difficult to put myself in different headspaces to get ready to relax or to get ready to work, because all of that activity is kind of jammed into the same area. Same with exercising, same with meditating. Those things have definitely become a little bit more challenging when I can't go to the gym or go to the library. So separation of space has also been one of the harder parts of online school. And it has also made checking my phone feel like muscle memory, where it's always right there. And so sometimes I have to go give it to my mom and ask her to hide it for me so that I don't check it while I'm trying to focus on my lectures. Now, to talk about some of the studying mechanisms and coping mechanisms that I've come across. Coming into being in high school, coming into university. In high school, I could put a couple of my courses on the back burner. I'm definitely a math and physics kind of gal, so courses like social studies and English, I didn't tend to prioritize. And there were also things that I could do as assignments come across and tests come across. They weren't things that I necessarily prioritized. And so I predominantly spent my time with things that I more enjoyed, like physics and math. But in university, it's kind of different because almost all of your courses are physics and math. So from being able to prioritize 2 or 3 courses a semester to having to prioritize 6 is one of the, it requires a lot of deep time management skills. So something that I started doing were making these master to-do lists every single week. I would go in course by course with everything that's due, everything that I'd want to prepare in, and then I would produce a daily schedule for myself. And I'd have to put every single assignment that I work on, every study session that I have, I needed to organize it by the hour, because not having a distinct separation of space, like I mentioned before, tends to allow you to morph time together and not have a specific time to do specific activities. And during those daily schedules, I made it really important for me to have enough sleep and also to exercise. I've definitely been lacking on the exercise for the past couple weeks ever since midterm started, but I will get back to that. And so, yeah, that's all I had to say. I definitely appreciate all the support that's being given and the voices that are being heard during this time. And one last thing is that I'm really excited to meet all of the online friends that I've made. When I finally get to campus on person and meet all of those people, it'll feel less like meeting new people, but more like meeting old friends. So that has been my experience thus far.
Thank you so much, Yasmine. Next, we have Manuela, who is one of our Engineering Society leadership. So she's going to share some of the resources available to support community building and connections amongst year-one students. Manuela?
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Perfect.
thank you.
I was having some issues with connection, so if anything breaks up, please let me know. So hi everybody, nice to meet you who I haven't met before. My name is Manuela and I am a 3rd-year electrical engineering student. I am Vice President Internal for the Engineering Society, which is a student body that supports students in the engineering program in UBC Okanagan. We are a student course union that runs alongside with the SUO, which is the Students' Union of the Okanagan. And we try to provide as many services to students that aren't provided by the SUO just because they aren't engineering specific, as well as provide a connection between faculty to students in the best way possible, as well as outside organizations. And we do that by hosting events. We do that by sending newsletters and just staying in contact with our students as much as possible. In terms of student support and engagement, the Engineering Society is composed of different roles that involve, so we're basically broken up into the executives and the representatives. In the representative realm, we have 1 or 2 representatives in each discipline group as well as year group. So you will find students that are taking courses with you that might be your first year representative if you're in first year, or your second year representative if you're in second year. We have an electrical representative for the electrical students and so on. And those students, because they are experiencing the school life every day, such as other students and like their peers, they come forward with those issues to the engineering society so that we can address them if there are any. They're also a great way to meet other people because they're constantly networking and engaging with the students and their peers in their classes. So if you want to meet somebody, or if you have a question, or if you want to get engaged, feel free to reach out to your representative. In a more global level, this year, all the executives that in the Engineering Society have been trying to host on as many online events as possible to students. So we have events that have been happening every year, and they're consecutive, and such as competitions or just social events, and those are still happening online. We've been trying to advertise it as much as possible through social media, through email, and now the Engineering Society also has a Canvas shell for which you can sign up as a course in your Canvas, and then you can see our updates, and you can see valuable links that we filter through and post for students. It's just a great way to be more involved with your student body in general, is to sign up for the Engineering Society events and be part of the Engineering Society if you'd like to. Yeah, so some support resource that we've been trying to launch for students is just to provide means for them to connect online. We created a Discord channel with all students that are interested in specific topics. Like if you're interested in playing a certain game, then we have a Discord channel for that game, and you can go online and you can play with other students that like that game as well, and just connect with them in general. And we also try to support students. I mean, this is the more social side, but we also try to support students professionally. We are currently in the middle of the Professionalism Month, which is great, which is just a series of professional events hosted by the NSOC that are providing networking with students, with companies from all over the world, because this online environment has just opened up this huge opportunity for us to have speakers and people talking and networking from all over the place, because everything is online. And we're also trying to provide support with you if you're trying to apply for a job, then you can get help writing your cover letter, or if it's your first time writing your resume, you can get that resume reviewed. You can put your resume to enter a competition, and you can run for prizes. You can also see other students and their resumes and see how they have been writing, what their experience are. We also try to put students not only in contact with industry, but also with other students that have either graduated or are upper years, so that they can share their experience with you, and you can learn from them, from their experience as well. One of our most popular events in Professionalism Month is called Life as an Engineer in Training, and which is students that have graduated from UBCO that come back to tell their story. How was it when they graduated? How's everything now? How's everything with getting a job in the online environment and things like that? Yeah, so year one students this year, it is hard to engage with them at first, because I recognize that students come from all over the world and from different backgrounds and have different access to certain tools. Like, do you use Instagram? Do you use Facebook? Do you use Discord? But as we try to engage students in any of these platforms, then we try to pull them in from any of these and make sure they know that they can get connected in multiple platforms and be engaged not only with other students, but with the Engineering Society. They can get help, they can meet more faculty members and everything such as that. If you are a first year student, my advice to you is go on the NSOC website. Make sure you know who your representatives are. Make sure you know who is sitting with you in class that is also home with, that is also struggling to, also going through probably the same struggles as you, similar struggles. And then by knowing who they are, you can feel free to reach out to them. They're very approachable. After that, second advice would be part of the engineering, follow the Engineering Society on Instagram. we have posts about events not only that we host, but that external organizations host. Most students don't realize that engineering is a faculty that's so united throughout Canada as a whole. There's the Canadian Federation of Engineering Students, which is representatives from students for every university in Canada with a valid engineering program that sit together once a week or once a month to talk about issues throughout all of Canada. And we have a representative for those types of meetings in our school, in our engineering society. So getting to know that person, getting to know their experience, or maybe one day running to be that person, you just realize how much bigger it is, the world in engineering, besides just our school and our program. And yeah, so this year, basically, we're trying to engage students. We're trying to understand what it is their needs are and how can we meet those needs? How can we provide a better service through online? I know it's hard this year because we have an office on campus, and usually first year students, they're just curious and they just walk by and they come to our office, and there's always somebody there because we have office hours, and every hour there might be somebody different. And you can run for positions, you can see all of the stickers, all of the patches, all of the different merchandise we have, the history we have been recording and like posting on our wall and like attaching to our windows. It's just a great office. It's a great space to come eat, to come talk. And we don't have that this year, which is frustrating, but we also have something much bigger, which is you can approach any of us through any medium that you like. You can approach us through Instagram. It can be Discord. It can be Facebook. It can be email. It can be anything. And yeah, if you're a first year student and you're interested in seeing something that you're not, an experience that you're not getting, reach out to us and let us know what that experience is that you're wishing for. Maybe we have already been providing it, but you haven't been in touch with it. Or maybe we need to design something new, and we're open to hearing about that as well. Yeah, so thank you for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Manuela. Next, I'm going to welcome Dr. Yang Chow, who's the Associate Director of Undergrad Studies.
Thank you, Renee. Good morning, everyone. My name is Yan Chow. I'm Associate Director for Undergraduate Study, and I teach second year engineering calculus course. Unfortunately, I don't teach first year, otherwise I would have shared a similar experience with all of you. But before I start, let me just reference to a late acknowledgement. We should have said it at the beginning. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the unceded territory of the Syilx Okanagan people, and wish to acknowledge the ancestral people wherever you may be located. Back to this topic of year one student forum, and thanks everyone for sharing their experience, their stories. And I really actually resonate with the story shared by Dr. Mina, who for first year, your all 4-year education, I often think it's a war. May not be appropriate, but it's a war. Every exam, every course is a battle. So you don't need to win every battle to win war, but you need to win a war. So you may have a temporary impediment, basically because of a quiz or a midterm. But bear in mind, right, it's just a temporary, this is just a part of the whole bigger picture. So you have to know where you're going, be confident. And in terms of learning, and what I just want to emphasize a few things about learning resources that are here, both at the UBC campus level, also within school engineering. Your first step, okay, should always be your course instructor and TAs. They are always the one that knows the best about what you should do, what you can succeed in this course. And I trust all of our first year instructors are doing their best to accommodate to this online teaching environment. It is not easy, I understand. And sometimes we as an instructor are also kind of overwhelmed by different technologies. And as I heard, sometimes we have difficulties in exam invigilation using Zoom, right? So those little things is also sometimes pose a challenge to instructors. But I also trust everyone are trying their best to provide the best learning experience. And if you do have any questions, your first stop should be your instructor. If you have any feedback, you don't feel like you don't want to provide directly to the instructor, there are other venues or channels you can also provide the feedback. For example, you can talk to the advising office. You can also talk directly to email to me, and that's okay. And I often actually go back and meet with some instructors and give those feedbacks anonymously back to the course. Every one of us actually like those feedbacks. We also want to improve. So nothing of this will be put as a grudge against the students. So rest assured. If you do want additional resource, and I understand that UBC, there's a student learning hub. Student Learning Hub has attended some of their activities on their websites. I think there's some a program called personal coach type of things. And there's also supplemental learning. And those are all dedicated resource for our first year program. So make best use of it. Last time I heard that those resources, unfortunately, not very best used of by students. For whatever reason, most probably because the online environment, right? Students probably don't feel comfortable just to talk to somebody through videos or through emails. But people are out there. All of the resources are working. So I do encourage you, do you feel like you want to reach out for some of these resources? And lastful, okay, I want to use a message that said by our provost. We have to look beyond the horizon. So we have to trust that this is not going to be a permanent, this is just a temporary. We have to get through it. And once we get through it, and I think we're all going to be fine. And the important part is, for now, is stick to the schedule, right? Look at what's going on here. And this week is a good opportunity to catch up, tie up a few loose ends. That's what I told my own students, okay? Especially for first year. So anyway, I think the message is very clear to all of you, okay? Trust the resource that you have and trust yourself, and try your best. I think it will all be okay. We can all get better at this.
Thank you, Yang. Next, I'd like to welcome Dr. Stephanie Jury, who's joining us as the learning strategist, so an excellent resource for first-year students. Stephanie?
Thank you. So I'm Stephanie. I just started as a learning strategist about a month ago. And what I do is I offer professional learning skills support to students across the Okanagan campus. So there's just a couple of things that I wanted to kind of suggest, tips, I guess, for success for your study. I don't know if you've got the, yep, there we go. So just got 5 very quick ones to go through. If you have any questions about them, you can pop them in the Q&A. So the main thing that students come to me about right now is time management, because online learning has really kind of thrown us for a bit of a loop. And the most important thing to manage your time when you're working alone is to have some kind of a plan. And you need to try to recreate that on-campus experience as much as possible from being at home. So what I recommend is doing something called back planning. You have a calendar, you put in all your assessments, your quizzes, your exams, and you count backwards a number of days or weeks you think it's going to take you to prepare for that assessment. The other thing you pop into your calendar is obviously anything you have to do, like work commitments, your synchronous classes, anything with your family, and some workout time. And you want to make sure you also pop in a specific time every week to do your asynchronous lectures. Asynchronous lectures seem to be the thing most students let slide because I don't have to do them right away. I can do them whenever I want. And then whenever I want happens a few days before the midterm exam. And we want to avoid you being up all night drinking a lot of Red Bull to get through them. So if you pretend that they're actually a synchronous class and you set a time for yourself every week to do them, it'll be so much easier to get it done. You're going to be less likely to put it off until the last minute. You also want to schedule in some time for specific study for every class that you have. And if you have, say, a 3-hour block that you want to use for study, don't just say, I'm going to study this particular class for 3 hours. You have to set yourself some smaller goals to complete within that session. So what you want to have is sort of a clear direction of what you want to get out of your study time. And these study times need to be, or these goals need to be time bound. So I've got an example here, like for this one particular hour of this 3-hour block, I'm going to read chapter 1 for my math class, but I want to focus on 2 particular formulas that I'm struggling with. And a good technique for helping you break down that 1 hour even more is to use what's called the Pomodoro technique. And it's a system where you time yourself for 25 minutes and you do really concentrated study for 25 minutes. You have like a timer, it rings, and then you take a 5-minute break and you repeat the process again. You can change 25 minutes to like 15 minutes if you find, I just really can't concentrate. You can even have your Pomodoro be 5 minutes. So if it's a task you really don't want to do because it's boring, I'm just going to do 5 minutes of work on this. And you'll realize that 5 minutes go fast really quickly. And knowing that you've got some sort of a reward at the end, like a 5-minute break where you can do whatever you want, it actually motivates you a little bit more. It's kind of like gamifying your study. How much can I get done? I'm racing against the clock. I also recommend students take regular breaks. A lot of the students that I speak to, they try to just power through 8 hours in a day without any break, and lunch is a granola bar or something. You're not going to be able to sustain that kind of study. And if you've been doing that up until your midterms and you're sitting here going, oh gosh, I'm just so tired right now, you need to make sure that you've got a really nice work-life balance. The other thing, and my second tip that I recommend, is to actually start revising from day 1. So obviously we're not on day 1 anymore, we're halfway through term, but you can start today. So every day, as part of your plan, devote anywhere between 15 minutes and an hour to revise some material from a past week in a past course. This sets you up nicely for your exams. You will not have to cram so much because you have been revising a little bit every single day. It also helps keep that material fresh, and it helps you start to make connections between material you've learned earlier in the semester with what you're learning right now. But I have the next slide. Thank you. Last 3 steps I have is to maintain connections. And some of the panelists have talked about this already. It's so important to get involved with different clubs and groups, and you've got a wonderful one that your faculty has, so definitely get involved with the activities that they have. Join another UBCO club to make connections. There are clubs that are doing all kinds of stuff on Zoom right now, and as soon as we're able to kind of get out and get together again, you're going to already have those connections virtually. And also set up ways to hold yourself accountable for the study that you do. So set up some study groups with friends in your classes. If you don't know anyone, take the initiative, reach out through Canvas, ask if anyone wants to study with you. You're not going to be the only person that is looking for that personalized connection and someone to hold them accountable. I also just want to talk quickly about managing your expectations. One thing that I see is students will come and they'll say to me, I was a super good student in high school. I was getting 90s. I'm not getting 90s anymore. What happened? And the class average for first year is somewhere around the mid-60s, so about 65. And this can be about where you can expect your first year grades to be about 10 to 20% less than what you got in high school. So if you were getting 85% in high school, you can expect to be getting 65% at university. This isn't a hard and fast rule, so if it's different for you, don't worry about it. But more or less, you can expect the grade to be a little bit lower. And that's just because you're trying to learn how to study differently, you're dealing with more difficult content, and you're also having to manage yourself differently. There's a lot more independent learning that happens at university, and that does take time to get used to. So don't beat yourself up if your grade is lower than what it is in high school. That's actually quite normal. It doesn't mean that suddenly you're not smart anymore. Something happened the moment you walked through the door of university. It actually just means that you're still doing as well as you were in high school. It's just much more challenging. As you develop a really good study strategy, by the time you're in your third and your fourth year, you can expect your grade to be back up more to where it was when you were in high school. So don't stress with first year right now. It's very normal for the grades to be lower. And as you continue to study and work hard, you can expect the grades to increase. Finally, and everyone's been mentioning this, make sure you reach out for help. My next slide, I've got some resources that we have at the academic success sort of group. So there's two sorts of parts to this. We have academic and technical skills assistance. All of these are peer supported and peer led, except for the learning strategist position. That's me. So if you're struggling with so math or science, or even just your writing and your language skills, we have tutors that can assist you with that. And you can book in to speak with one of them. We also have supplemental learning for some of those challenging courses. So they're weekly sessions that give you a bit more, I guess, practice and study help with them. And then there's technical support if you're struggling with Canvas, for example. And our online learning coaches offer drop-in sessions. They are peer supported, peer led. They also are specialized in some of the, like if you're engineering, for example, you can speak to the engineering OLC. And then there's also myself. So if you would like, or you feel you need a little bit extra help, you want a really tailored plan for your study, or maybe tailored help with your communication skills, for example, you can always book an appointment with myself. Now, all the contact details for getting this assistance is available on the link that I've provided there. That link also will take you to course advising assistance. So we have academic advisors, we have Aboriginal student advising, disability resource advising, and international student advising. So if you fall into one of sort of those categories, there are specific advisors for you. If you're just curious about asking some questions about your course load, I recommend having a chat with an academic advisor. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask after about anything I've talked about, just pop them in the chat and let me know.
Thank you, Stephanie. Our last panelist today is Melissa Feddersen from our Health and Wellness Office. She's our well-being specialist and here to share some resources on Thrive Month and strategies for well-being. Melissa.
Hello, everyone. So it is Thrive Month at UBC. So we'd love to spend more time with you and give you new skills to protect and promote your mental well-being while you're a UBC student. I've only got 5 minutes today, so I'm gonna fly fast through here. But Thrive is a month where we concentrate as a UBC community on mental health. We want to learn about it, we want to talk about it, and we want to support each other in it. Thrive.ubc.ca is our website, and we have a ton of events on our calendar, ton of resources for you to explore, and would love to meet with you in there. The next slide, please. Can we bump to the next slide, please? And maybe one more. So just wanted to sort of give you a few tools on sort of protecting your mental health this term and through this stressful time. So we know that there's 5 key things the science tells us that we can do to support our mental health and our mental well-being. And those things too, which is very interesting as I listen to all of the panelists talk, they reference different pieces of this, staying connected, sleeping soundly, moving more, eating well. What's really critical with these aspects is that they also will give us some hints when our mental health is starting to plummet, when we are starting to struggle and we might need to reach out for help. So for example, I'll often talk to students about investing in their quality of their sleep and their sleep hygiene and all of these things, because it is so protective of our mental health. And it is your greatest tool as an engineer to protect your mental health is to sleep very, very well. About 90% of people who are struggling with mental illness also have sleep disturbances. So if you're having trouble going to sleep or staying asleep, it's a good indication that it might be time to get a little bit of support. Within our Wellness Center online, we've got lots of modules about how to take care of your sleep, how to protect your sleep. A few of our key hacks would be shutting off your screens at least an hour before bedtime, trying to get in a bit of physical activity every day. Our stress hormones are only spent through moving. Cortisol is only spent through our bodies moving physically in some way. And I know that we're compromised in that more than ever, but would encourage you to try and figure out sneaky ways to fit physical activity into your day. Keep a skipping rope near you, run up and down your stairs, do whatever you need to do to move a little more. I had a student talking to me about how she was commuting to work or to school, even though she's at home. So she goes for a big walk before she starts her school day. Great idea. Anywhere that you can add in a little bit of physical activity through your day. And just encouraging you to stay connected as everyone else has already talked about as well. Connect to the institution, connect to the friends and family at home where you are, and just critical in these spaces. Again, if you're feeling like you don't want to answer the phone, you're ignoring text messages from friends or phone calls from your family, that's a good indication that your mental health is suffering a little bit too, and it might be time to get some support. So if you're having trouble reaching out or staying connected and saying hi, well, we'd also love to hear from you and give you some mental health support. So those are our Thrive 5, many activities and events on our event calendar related to these 5 aspects. Every Monday morning of Thrive Month, I'll be hosting, I'm calling it a mental health moment, where I'll give you some specific tips. You're welcome to join me. That's on the Thrive calendar, the Zoom link, so you can join me there. There's also Thrive 5 Plus, so things outside of those 5 that can be protective of your mental health, and you can find different events on those as well. We can go to the next slide, please. Other things that we'd love for you to, our best sort of hacks, and most of those I've talked about. Breathe. We've been doing just a ton of research and investing in just helping students breathe, which is such an interesting thing. But anytime that you're starting to feel like stress is getting away on you, you've lost control of it, take 5 really concentrated breaths. Breathing in through your nose and out through pursed lips, almost like you're blowing bubbles through a bubble wand. It resets your sympathetic nervous system and helps you to calm. We also will encourage you to do things like a mindfulness practice to help bring you into this moment so that you can concentrate on the work at hand and not be focused on the future things that you are afraid of, or the past things like Dr. Horford talked about, that we may have had a failure or a challenge. How do you concentrate on what you have to do right now? There's an activity there for a mindfulness practice, which I was going to try with you, but I think I'm probably already over time. But it's on the screen here. One more, if you could just burst through the next slide. You can try this out when you're at home. So just 5 things you can see. Think about it, notice them. 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell. Great, easy practice you can do anywhere to bring you into this current moment. And lastly, I just also wanted to share with you some resources, and we can just go to the last slide there, that are available to you. So health and wellness is available on campus in Kelowna. Now, what's challenging, any healthcare practitioners are licensed only to provide care to people in British Columbia. So what we have established is called the Student Assistance Program. This program has just launched. It is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week program. You can log in, call, access life coaching. You can access clinical counselors, multiple languages all over the world. You'll talk with a counselor as soon as you call, and then they'll make a plan with you about how they'll support you after that. So if anything that I did mention about indicators that your mental health might be suffering, do please reach out and chat with somebody about it. And then also, lastly, our Wellness Center online is live. We are just about ready to launch a brand new stress management module with tons of resources on managing stress. So please register. It's another Canvas course, but lots of information in there for you on protecting and promoting your health as a student at UBC. So we hope you'll join us in there. Thanks for having me.
So that ends the panel portion of this event. So we just wanted to open the floor to our attendees for questions, and our panelists will either answer live or via the chat. While we're waiting for some questions to come forward, I'll maybe address a common question that our advising office seems to be receiving this time of year is many students are just considering reducing their course load and changing up their schedule to plan for a 5-year degree plan. So this is a very common and popular option for students. School of Engineering does offer a lot of our year 1 courses over the summer term to allow students to perhaps get back on track if you want to get back on a 4-year plan, or alternatively, you can just continue on the 5-year path. So our office did send an email recently. We are offering 2 of our term 1 classes actually in term 2. Those courses being 172 calculus and 180 statics. So if any of you are struggling with those courses in particular, just be assured that there is an option for you to catch up on those courses in the 2nd term.
Renee, there was a question in the chat, which was, what does a student do if they've sent an email to a TA, but have not gotten a response?
Right. So if TA is not responding, no panic. Then contact this course instructor. The course instructor can always get back to the TA for whatever reason the TA is not responding. And this is where you should get in touch instructor first, maybe, and then TA. And you can also see the TA, possibly remind the TA during the tutorial section, see if they missed the email or for whatever reason, right? That's another place you can get in touch with the TA.
I can also address another question that our advising office receives is just about average required to retain your seat in engineering. So we conduct an annual assessment, which means at the end of term 2, we look at your grades between both term 1 and term 2. Students need to maintain an overall average of 55% over both terms to be eligible to continue in 2021. So again, just to assure you that, term 1 doesn't go quite as well as expected, you have, time, and there's plenty of different opportunities to get back on track and bring up your grades in term 2. I don't see any other questions coming in via the chat. Dr. Chow, Yasmine, did you want to share something?
Yeah, I had a question. I was wondering how the majors for 2nd year mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, etc., were given out to students, and if it's given out based on a GPA status, because I do know that some other engineering institutions have like a list of the students with their averages and then give the highest GPAs their first choice, etc. How does that work?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So the good news is that we do not have competitive entry or placement into year 2 programs. So you're guaranteed your program of choice between civil, electrical, mechanical, or manufacturing engineering. So what will happen is our advising office will send out an online Qualtrics form at the end of term, so in April, to basically just ask students to declare their specialization after you're done year 1. And then at that time, you can just tell us what your preference is. And then, we connect with you around advising and course selection based on that program selection.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Zhang, can you comment on the Mechatronics option, just in case, because if after selecting the specialization, because what I understand, there is some kind of a cutoff in that case, if Mechatronics option.
Sure. We do have a few options: Mechatronics, biomedical, and RAIN, reinforced resilient infrastructure management. Those options are competitive based. There are a certain number of students due to lab restrictions. So those options are not open to everyone, but mostly on a GPA-based basis. But we try to accommodate as many as possible for sure. And then, you know, each year, I can, on top of my head, I can remember, for example, Mechatronics maybe we're admitting 30 students each year. We'll try to spread them out, basically try to get as many students as possible into those options.
I wondered if any of our panelists have any closing thoughts or anything you'd like to touch on.
I just want to say thank you to everyone and for arranging this event. And most important thing is that it's a check-in event. And if anybody has questions, please don't feel shy to reach out to me, Dr. Hurfar, Dr. Chow, our advising group, or any other person you think that we can provide you some support and help. Please don't be shy. And we are here to help you. And this is a very different time. So and we cannot meet in person, but we're very happy to meet if somebody has very specific question. We have done it in the past. If some students have some concerns, we met on Zoom one-to-one as well. So I'm very open to this idea as well. If somebody wants to meet me or any of our staff and faculty, please let us know. We will do our best to accommodate your request.
Thank you, Dr. Sadiq. It looks like we're at time, so we really appreciate you joining our session. It will be posted on our SOE Advising website, and we'll send a follow-up email to all Year 1 students, so the resources will be available. And just again, you know, we're here to support you. Our advising office is available for online appointments or via email, so please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, or we can point you in the right direction. Dr. Hofer, did you?
Oh no, I'm good. I just wanted to say thank you all for arranging this. And as Dr. Sadiq mentioned, this is just check-in, and we should have more of this. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to any of us.
Thank you, and enjoy your midterm break, and we will connect soon. Thank you all.
Take care.